name is Anamari. We're here on Digital Boost, as always, getting you so that you can learn it, do it, and boost it. Here we are with Tim from Arrow Digital, and we're going to be talking about paid advertising, what platforms to use, the fundamentals of it, and what kind of metrics are important that you should look for if you're going to go ahead and spend your money, which, is often a little bit daunting for small businesses, but can be a necessary evil in order to create leads and generate sales. So I just want to remind everybody that we are across all platforms today. So if you want to communicate with Tim, he's an expert in this area, please use the comment section or the Q&A functions, whatever chat feature we have on that platform in order to get your questions heard. I will be checking them throughout the session. If you're here with us on Zoom, welcome, kia ora. You can go ahead and use the chat feature there. I've enabled it. So thank you so much, Tim, for joining us here today on Digital Boost.
Thanks so much. It's great to be back.
I know it's been a while. We haven't had you on in a while, and you're looking fresh. So that's good.
Cheers. Well, morena e te whānau. Ko Tim toko ingoa. My name is Tim Dorrian. I'm the Managing Director of Arrow Digital. Should we kick into it?
Let's kick into it.
Lovely. So today I'm going to be talking about what makes a successful digital marketing campaign, and we're going to be focusing on paid digital marketing. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to run through it. One moment.
I'll let you know I can see it.
Beautiful, thank you. How's that?
Yes. Wonderful.
Beautiful. Cool. Well, let's get into it. So today's corridor, really what we're going to be talking about is what is digital marketing actually for? I want to start super top level before we start diving into social ad campaigns and how to set those up. And then we're going to dive into Google ad campaigns. Now, as you can imagine, underneath both of those umbrellas on the social and the Google side, there's a lot that goes into each one. So I'm going to do my best to touch on the main themes. But if you've got specific questions about things that you're struggling with, chuck them in the chat and we'll try and get to those at the end as well. Alrighty, let's get into it. Little spiel. What's Arrow Digital about? We're all about growing awesome ideas. If you're a social enterprise and you want a free consultation session, just come and have a chat. We're keen to help organizations. My skill sets are all in search, social, analytics, and strategy, and I've been really fortunate to work with a wide range of really cool businesses. Pitch over. So, digital marketing, what is it for? I would argue the most important thing is achieving your business objectives online. But throughout the process, you can also share your journey as an individual or as a business. And also, I think digital marketing can be really useful for connecting with your audiences. A lot of people think about digital marketing as just a one-way kind of like shout at people platform. But if you're actually engaging with your audiences, connecting with your community, connecting with your people, that's the way that you can use digital marketing really successfully as well. But I want to hone in on that first one, achieving business objectives. And I want to ask you, what is your objective when it comes to digital marketing? What are you actually trying to achieve? A lot of businesses come to us and they say, hey, we really want to grow our brand presence. Now that's great. You want to be in the hearts and minds of New Zealanders and your audience. Fantastic. But I want to get more specific. I want to know what actually drives the gears of your business's success. So for some people, if you've got a retail store, that might be in-store visits. Maybe it's inbound leads, people giving you phone calls or emails. You could be a charity and you could be trying to drive online donations. Maybe you're a SaaS business and you're trying to get people to sign up to a trial, or maybe you're an e-commerce business and you're trying to generate sales. So have a think about it. What is your objective? And I want you to have something that's nice and measurable that you think you're going to be able to track, because we're going to use that example as we go through this session. Cool. Let's get into it. A lot of the time when people come to us, they ask, what platforms should we be using as a business? Because there's so many different platforms popping up. Where do we need to be? Do we need to have a TikTok account? I'm not even that good at dancing. So we can navigate that together. When I like to think about digital marketing, I like to think about these two sides. Demand generation, which is kind of people scrolling. They've got no intent of purchasing. platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok are good examples. And when we're thinking about those platforms, we're thinking about how we can actually make our content stand out, because there's so much content on these platforms. How can we get our business's message out there? And on the other side of marketing is the demand satisfaction side. So that's people searching. So classic is obviously Google and Google Ads, but other examples of it are platforms like TradeMe and homes.co.nz, where people are searching for, I don't know, a new lawnmower. And really, when it comes to demand satisfaction, this is all about helping people find your product or your service. So the more helpful information we can provide, the easier we can make it for people to land on our website and hopefully conduct that conversion objective that we talked about. So we're going to start with the demand generation side of things, and things go a little bit deeper because different platforms have got different demographics. And when people are thinking about what platforms they should be using, if they're doing organic content or if they're doing paid content, it's really important to land on the right types of channels. Now, typically, the older the platform is, the older the audience. That's a good way to think about it. So, a couple of points in here. Twitter is relatively popular in New Zealand. It's not as popular as somewhere like the States. 18 to 49-year-olds using that platform. With something like LinkedIn, you've got around about 60% of people actively looking for industry insights. They're looking for that thought leadership. They're looking for additional information so they can kind of get ahead in their careers. YouTube is a platform that a lot of people often overlook. This is a really popular platform with a wide range of ages, and lots of people have got smart TVs now, and very few people, I think only 20 million people in the world, have actually got a YouTube premium subscription, so they cut out the ads. The majority of people who are watching YouTube will be seeing ads, and if you've got really good video content, it can be a great platform for you as well. With TikTok, 40% of the people are aged 16 to 24, but this is actually the fastest growing social media platform. So this grew from around 290 million users back in 2019 to 660 million users in 2021. And I'm looking for the 22 numbers as we speak. And Pinterest, this is an interesting platform that a lot of people also overlook. Again, smaller user base, but often it's people 50 to 64. It's about 38% of the users, and often females. And when you're thinking about Pinterest, it's often people who are kind of like planning their future. They're looking for inspiration on some like house renovations or holiday inspo, that sort of thing. So when it comes to your platform, align it with your audience. Cool. So I want to talk about paid campaigns, and paid social media campaigns is where we're going to start. And I want to talk about some of the hallmarks of what makes social campaigns successful. So when it comes to the ads, really clear messaging is super important. Often what we'll see is people who will overcomplicate, try and put way too many messages in a single ad, and that can really negatively impact how well that actually lands with someone. You want to make things interesting and engaging. You want to make ads that really pop off the feed rather than blend in. So how can you make stuff exciting and entertaining? You obviously want to be trying to reach your ideal audience. And when it comes to paid ads, you've got quite a lot of demographic and psychographic targeting that you can use on those platforms to actually reach your people. After someone's clicked on ads, you're going to be sending them to a landing page on your website more often than not. And what you really want to aim for there is that to be nice and clear, nice and punchy, and really draw people towards that conversion point. Now, a successful social campaign has to actually measure how successful it is. So you want to track what's called your CPA, or cost per acquisition. If you don't know how much money it costs to generate a sale or a lead or whatever that conversion point is, that objective we talked about before is, then you're going to have a real tough time to actually ascertaining whether or not the money that you're spending is worth it. Now, typically, we always align our campaigns to run for a long period of time. So we think about always on campaigns, especially if we know what that cost per acquisition is, and we can keep track of that month to month. Then it's just money in and money out. And you can kind of have a nice little funnel and a little vehicle that will get you to that digital marketing success. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into what a social campaign structure could look like. So what we're going to use for this conversation is just meta advertising. The majority of paid social advertising happens on Meta, so it's Facebook and Instagram. And this conversation will get a little bit more advanced than maybe like the 101 conversations. So if there are questions, sing out in the chat. Now, there's 3 levels to your campaign structure on the likes of Meta, but this is similar across a lot of platforms. So you've got your campaigns where you actually set your objectives. You've got your ad sets where you set your audiences and your budgets, and you've got your ads, which is where you put your creative and your copy in. Now, a good approach for a relatively large business that's got enough users coming to their website, let's say maybe over 5,000 a month, is a 3-step funnel from prospecting to consideration to conversion. And at each stage of that funnel, we can be targeting a slightly different audience. At the top of the funnel, in that prospecting stage, we can be going after a relatively broad audience, using maybe just some demographic and location targeting. But you might also want to test that and compare it to an interest-based audience. So, I don't know, someone who's into rock climbing. I'm not sure. You pick your interests based on your business. Or maybe you want to use a lookalike audience. What that is essentially you can spit out a list of all of your customers from your, let's say, e-commerce platform, provided you've got all your privacy policies aligned with this approach, and add it into the likes of Meta to create a lookalike audience out of the back of them, essentially people who are similar to your current audience. And that can be a really good, effective targeting option. Now, the most important thing is testing out which of those top of funnel audiences are going to work best. At the consideration level, you want to be going most likely after a retargeting audience, people who have visited your website, let's say within the last 30 days. And then in that conversion stage, you're looking for people who have taken really high intent actions. Maybe they've added something to cart, maybe they've spent 3 minutes on the website. And then we can reach those people specifically. We might be paying a little bit more because it's a smaller audience. And we'll have to watch that we don't over advertise them. We don't want to be annoying and create really terrible advertising experiences, because that's just going to piss people off and probably not achieve your business objectives in the first place. So that's a real simple campaign structure. There's lots of different ways of doing this. But if you're getting around about 5,000 people to the website, an approach like this will probably be good. If you're getting less than that, maybe you're going to want to get rid of one of those stages, either the consideration or the conversion, and just run a 2-step funnel. Let's get a little bit deeper though. So if we're setting up a campaign in Meta, there's different types of campaigns that we can go for. Now, we'd recommend using something like a sales campaign, a traffic campaign, or a lead-based campaign. The different campaign types will optimize your ads towards whatever campaign objective that you've set. So if we set a traffic campaign, Facebook's trying to optimize this to the lowest cost per click, or the most clicks being generated for your budget. If we're doing something like sales or leads, we're setting up a conversion objective, which I'll talk about how to do a little bit in a second. And we're trying to optimize our ads to achieve that at the lowest possible cost. So let's say we're trying to sell a thing. How do we sell the thing for the lowest possible price? So testing different campaign objectives is really important as you move forward in learning about paid digital marketing. Now, in order to set up an actual conversion objective like tracking sales or tracking, say, phone calls, we need to use the event manager and actually set up a pixel. Now, this is really hard to do a guide on because different websites will do this in different ways. So your WordPresses will do it differently to your Squarespaces, to your Shopifys. But essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a new event that's aligned with that conversion objective. And this is the view where we can test whether or not that information is flowing through to Facebook. From there, we apply that pixel, we apply that conversion event to our campaign and set things up from here. If you get to this point, there's a whole heap of guides online. So just Google setting up a pixel on and just insert your website CMS, like your Squarespace or your Shopify, into Google, and you should be able to find out how to do this. Cool. So we talked about campaigns. The next level down is your ad sets. And when we're making audiences within our ad sets, there's a few different types that we can use. We can use website audiences, so people who have visited the website perhaps. We can use customer lists, so people who have purchased. And we might even want to use that audience list to exclude from our advertising. So let's say someone's purchased from us, sometime in the last year. We might not want to advertise to them. We might want to save our money for reaching new customers. So we might want to take that customer list and exclude them from receiving our ads to create a nicer advertising experience. We might want to retarget people who have been on our Facebook or Instagram pages, or people who filled out a lead form. We can also retarget people who have engaged with different elements of our video. Let's say they've watched 50% of a video. We can reach those people, and that might be another approach for a multi-step funnel, like I talked about before. There's all sorts of other audience types that you can create as well, things like lookalikes, which I've already talked about. We'll get on to ad copy. So we talked about campaigns, we talked about ad sets. The next layer down is ads. So I've seen a lot of really terrible ads in my time, and we've actually got a Slack channel in our organization called Marketing Gore, where we get to share the worst ads that we've seen. And yeah, there's some absolute shockers out there. So how can you create a good one? So a good ad is one or all of these things. Emotive. It actually generates a reaction from your audience. So ad creation is aiming to replicate a human conversation. So, a laugh, a heartwarming comment, something that's weird, anything's better than just being completely boring and fading into the abyss of the feed. Snappy, catering to short attention spans. You want to be editing your copy so it's nice and punchy. So once you've written something, edit it back a couple of times and really cut it back so it communicates the message in the least number of words. And then action-based. So we're usually trying to ask our audience to do something. And if that's not clear and our audience is getting confused, that's going to have negative results on the performance of our campaign. So that's when it comes to writing copy. When it comes to actually choosing what creative or images to use, we like things that have got a lot of contrast, things that are different colors and shapes, different sizes, things that will, again, help pop out from the feed. Representation. So your audience will resonate with the people that look the most like them. So use photos of real people. And ideally, if you can avoid stock photos, people have got a pretty good sense of what a stock photo looks like now. So yeah, even getting out there and taking photos on your iPhone is better than using a stock photo in some instances, I suppose. And other things within that representation is you can represent the area that you're within. If people can recognize like a local street or a local landmark, they're naturally going to be inclined to pay attention to that ad or that image a whole lot more. And then cultural considerations. So if you're advertising internationally or if you're advertising locally, so I've got my washing machine clanking around at the back there, the classic working from home vibe. So if you're advertising internationally or locally, you can improve your experience by using that relevant local lingo, different creatives and different themes as well. Just going to shut this door. Beautiful. So let's see some examples. These are some ones that we've done for World of Wearable Art. So the Wonder of Wow returns, nice and striking image. I mean, they're kind of cheating because they've got really striking imagery, but that's the type of thing that got a lot of engagement, it got a lot of reactions, got heaps of comments, and performed really well at actually achieving ticket sales. We did another campaign with Small Steps, and we were marketing these different tools that people could use to work on their mental well-being. So we just asked people, which of these small steps will you take first, mindful watching or deep breathing, and people could engage with this as a poll. And we did another campaign with the Civil Aviation Authority that essentially just was about batteries and avoiding the relinquishment of batteries as people are going through security. So this was just a really clear message. It really just popped out, and we tried to make it as simple as possible. Other examples, one on Reddit on the left-hand side, we did a campaign with Toitu Defender where we're trying to hire developers. So in order to resonate with those developers, we actually used imagery of code and kind of almost put like a bit of a problem in the code. And that really helped to reach the right people, because the people who were interested in the code were the people who were interested in the roles. And that performed really, really well as well. And then this one with High Alert, a quite fun copy. This is all about essentially a drug warning system that the police and also a couple of other government agencies have been working on. So that was a really fun one, and also performed really well. Really clear, simple messaging. And they also wanted to get their brand out there. So even though we were going for these subscribes as the objective, we were able to push their brand quite hard just by having a really clear logo there. Cool. So when it comes to measuring success of digital campaigns, I like to think about it in these 3 columns. Understanding how much traffic you're driving, how many clicks. So I'm looking at things like link clicks, the cost per link click, and the click-through rate. That really gives me a good understanding of whether or not this campaign is driving traffic at a cheap rate. And a good sort of rule of thumb is that less than $1 as a cost per click is generally pretty good. And the cheaper you get, the better it gets. As soon as you get more than $1 and into the 2+ mark, usually you're trying to do some optimizations to improve that further. Then thinking about the audience, there's a difference between reach and impressions. I might see an ad 3 times personally. That would be 3 impressions, but it would only be 1 reach. That would also lead to an average frequency of 3. So the frequency is essentially just a metric of how frequently, on average, are people seeing your ads. You don't want that too frequent. Again, you don't want to be annoying. As soon as you get plus sort of 7, 9 in terms of frequency, that's probably getting on the high side. So you might want to dial that down. And then CPM, also a really good metric for understanding how much it costs to reach 1,000 impressions. So a good metric for essentially understanding how expensive your audience is, because all of these ad platforms are measured on the CPM basis. They're all auctions on CPMs. So different platforms will have different CPMs depending on how valuable that audience is, or how many people are bidding at one given time on the auctions. And most importantly is the results. So how many total conversions did you get? How many phone calls, how many sales did you get? What was the cost per result? How much money did you have to spend to generate that conversion? Any other conversions you might be interested in, and the amount spent. How much money did it cost in total? So what you can see on the right-hand side here is a drop down from within the business manager or the ads manager of Meta. And one of the sort of top tips that I've got for using Business Manager effectively is to customize the columns that you're actually looking at. So if you hover over the top right of your table, there's that little button there, and you can click Customize Columns, and you can actually add these metrics that I've talked about into a specific set of columns. So this is kind of what that looks like. And you can click save as a preset, and then that just shows up as that RO overview. Cool. So it's a really helpful thing to be able to actually measure the right things. A lot of the default columns that Facebook gives you aren't really that valuable. Now, there might be more metrics that you want to put in here. I think there's something like 150, 200 different metrics, but I just wanted to keep it nice and simple with the most important ones. Cool. So when it comes to measuring success and trying to work out where you want to be putting your money, these are some campaigns that we've run in the past, just from the Art of Digital account. And what you can see is this golden hour campaign had a relatively cheap cost per click of 37 cents. And it had a relatively high click-through rate. So almost 2% of the people that saw it clicked on it. And the CPM was relatively cheap. Anything less than $10, I'm usually pretty happy with in terms of CPM. Whereas this digital, and reasons why that might be, why this might have performed that well, is the creative was good, our audience targeting was good, and the copy of the ads was correct as well. So we had our audience and our ad aligned quite well. Whereas with this digital marketing survey that we put out, our cost per click was $4.50. Our click-through rate was only 0.5%, and our cost per 1,000 impressions was $22. Now, these ads, comparatively, they weren't as engaging, they weren't as interesting. We were asking people to conduct a survey. And because of that, people didn't click on them in very high numbers, so only 0.5% of the people who saw it actually clicked on it. Now, that had a flow-on effect to how much it actually costed to reach that audience, because as ads perform worse, they get more expensive to advertise, which is the other reason that it's really important to create really engaging ads. So there's an example in the wild of an example, essentially something that worked well and something that didn't work well. So in practice, what I'd be doing is making new ads for this this campaign and trying to make that cost per click go down and that click-through rate go up. I want to move on now to demand satisfaction. So that's the other side of the equation when it comes to digital marketing. So again, these are platforms like Google and Google Ads, and we're going to be focusing mostly on the Google Ads side of things. So what makes a good search campaign or a good Google Ads campaign? So predominantly the search terms that you want to be focusing on are really high intent, really connected to your offering. So you don't want to go after really irrelevant search terms. You want things as specific and as related as possible. I would argue that non-branded search terms are much more important to go after than branded search terms. One of the things I see quite a lot of is businesses spending quite a high percentage of their budget on branded search terms. So for example, for us, we might be advertising on art or digital. And the reason we might advertise on that is because other people might be bidding on our brand name. And that might happen for a little bit, but often what I find is that businesses are spending too much over too long of a period of time. They're not checking whether or not anyone else is actually still bidding on their brand name, and they're kind of just wasting money on their branded search terms. Much better to put it on their non-branded search terms, where there's not necessarily that branded intent. Because usually for a branded search term, their organic listing, their SEO is holding up pretty well, and people would be able to navigate to their website from just clicking on the organic link, which means you don't have to pay for it. When it comes to a Google Ads campaign, having a mix of exact match and broad match ad sets and will help you perform a whole lot better. So what is the difference between that? Actually, maybe I'll get into that in a second because I've got a whole slide on exact and a broad match. Punchy and relevant ads. Really getting creative with your ads. A lot of people go pretty vanilla with their Google ad copy, and I think that it lends itself to lower performance and a more boring search experience. Regular maintenance, so checking in at least weekly to make bid and campaign adjustments. So you constantly want to be tweaking your Google Ads campaign to ensure that ongoing performance. And then really testing out different approaches, testing out different bid strategies to ensure that your approach is the most aligned with success. I want to talk about campaign structure for Google Ads as well. A really simple ad structure that you can use, or account structure that you can use, is for each of your offerings, just splitting it into an exact match and a broad match campaign. Now, in the exact match campaign, you're going after really popular keywords. So for example, we might go after exactly like digital marketing Wellington. That's probably a really important search term that we want to go for and we want to drive a lot of traffic from. But someone might not search that. They might search the best digital marketing Wellington has to offer, I don't know, for all time. And that wouldn't necessarily show up as under an exact match search because I haven't just said digital marketing Wellington. It would show under a broad match search. So what we can do is we can align our ad copy with exact match and write ads specifically for that, and have more generic ad copy for broad match, or maybe even use keyword insertions to go after that. Now, what's important is that we want to exclude our exact match keywords in our broad match campaign, so that we're not going after the same search terms in between exact and broad match. Now, underneath those ad groups, the ads, we want to be testing out different ad copy, and we want to have at least 4 ads in each ad group, so that we're testing out which ads are performing best. Now, you can kind of replicate that approach for every offering and every essentially like keyword type. So for us, we might go digital marketing Wellington. That might be a top level one. We might go after social media marketing. We might go after Google Ads marketing. And those are the different offerings. So you just got to apply that to your own business. Now, again, there's a load of different ways that you can do campaign structures. I wanted to try and provide something that was nice and simple that you'd be able to use. Cool. Now, when you're setting up your campaign, there's a whole lot of different campaign objectives that you can choose. Ones that we would recommend is sales and web traffic, but it does depend what type of business that you have. Once you go through that stage, you're going to be able to pick what campaign types you want to go for. Now, the classic Google Ads campaign is a search campaign. But Google's also peddling and pushing this Performance Max campaign. And I get a lot of questions asking about whether or not we should be using Performance Max. Now, what I found is that for smaller businesses that don't have a lot of conversion data, Performance Max doesn't work as well as search campaigns. If you're a large business and you're getting sort of like 500 to 1,000 plus conversions a month, that tends to give Performance Max enough data to be able to optimize your campaigns automatically. If you don't know what Performance Max is, essentially Google's artificial intelligence is trying to, I guess, like automate a lot of the advertising, like where you show up and where you spend your money. But it's a little bit of a black box for marketers. You don't have a good idea of where the money's going. So it makes it pretty difficult to optimize. Other campaign types are display ads. I kind of put display a little bit more in that demand generation category. Shopping ads are great for e-commerce businesses. Video also in that demand generation category. So that's how you can set up YouTube videos, and then discovery. Those ads that pop up in your Gmail and sometimes on the side of YouTube videos, and then the discover section of like the Google app as well. So it can be a good platform. We're finding some success with that. It's kind of a nice mix of almost like both demand generation and demand satisfaction. So for this example, we're going to be clicking on search, and we're going to be setting up a search campaign. Now, when it comes to keyword selection, I talked before about an intent. And these on the left-hand side are some examples of some high intent search terms. So things like digital marketing agency, Google Ads agency, Facebook agency, and digital marketing workshops. That's really related to what we do. But something that's maybe lower intent, if someone just searches digital marketing, they could be searching for so many different things. Are they looking for the definition? Are they looking for like how to do it? It's not a clear enough intent that we would want to advertise on. Website company, that's super generic. About digital marketing, that's all, that's again like a research question. What is Google Ads research? And digital marketing London, obviously not the right location, so there's no point in us advertising for that. Here's some examples of some ads that we've done in the past. So from 2 of those social ads that I talked about, know what's allowed in flight, know what you can bring, Civil Aviation Authority. So this was for search terms like what can I bring on my flight, baggage allowance, NZ, those sorts of search terms. And what we tried to do is really try and attract the right audience of people by advertising on the search terms, and then convince them to go through to the website to learn a little bit more about what they could and couldn't bring. The other approach, which is a little bit sneakier, is people who were searching for rhythm and vines. We put this search term, or this ad together, rhythm and lines. And this performed really well. It got about nearly 12% click-through rate. So 12 out of 100 people who saw it clicked on it, and we were able to drive some traffic from people searching for the Rhythm and Vines lineup through to High Alert, which was a nice way to kind of generate additional traffic for this government organization. Cool. So when it comes to measuring success on the Google Ads side of things, again, thinking about clicks, we're looking at the total number of clicks, the cost per click, the click-through rate, and then the number of impressions as well. But we can also look at how competitive each search term is, or each ad set is, and understand what impression share of the search results do we have, and what percentage of the time do we actually show up at the top. Is it 10% of the time, or are we showing up in that number one position, or in that top 4 position, a high percentage of the time? Results, the total number of conversions, again, the cost per conversion, and then how much money we're spending. Again, when you're in Google Ads, you can set up all of these columns by clicking on that columns piece, modify columns, and you'll see this little drop down, and you can select whatever metrics are interesting to you. You remember those different types of campaigns in between search and shopping, they'll lend themselves to different types of metrics that you want to look at. So there's stuff in here for video and stuff like that, which obviously doesn't work for search, but it is very useful when it comes to YouTube campaigns. Cool. Now, once we're running, what types of optimizations do you want to be running through? One of them is if you're doing manual bidding, max CPC. So continuing to tweak your max cost per click to ensure that you're showing for the right number of terms. The Google Ads auction essentially works as each search term you can put a bid in for. So let's say I put a bid in for 50 cents. If there's a whole lot of people who are bidding $1, I'm not going to show up. So I need to continue to test out where that optimal bid is in order to show up for that particular search term or keyword. Over time, you can move keywords from broad to exact match. So you're actually creating specific ads for related search terms that people are searching for in relatively high volumes. That just means that you can get your ad to resonate a whole lot better with the search term. Ad group performance, leaving the best performance on and then culling any ad sets that aren't performing well. We're optimizing for cost per acquisition here. How can we get the most results for the least budget? So how can we ensure that we're putting the most money into the things that are generating the conversions at the best rate? Ad performance, over time, certain ads will rise to the top and be performing better, either from a click-through rate perspective, or maybe even from a conversion rate perspective. So you want to keep those ones on that are performing really well and turn the low performers off. There's a whole lot of different site link extensions that you can add to your ads. So deeper links into your websites or call outs on offers that you might be doing. So continue to add those and see how that impacts your click-through rate. And then conversion tracking. So spending the most money on the campaigns that have got the lowest CPA. So same as that ad group performance there as well. Cool. So if all that seems too hard, we're trying to set up a platform called Kepla that's going to run campaigns like a team of experts would, and you can find more info on it on the Kepla.io website. Cool. Takeaways, and then I'm going to get into some questions. So if you've got more questions, I can see some are popping up. Feel free to chuck them in now. So what is digital marketing for? Really, it's all about achieving business objectives online. When it comes to social campaigns, you want to be picking the ideal platform for your audience. You want to be testing out different ad campaigns and seeing what's generating the best cost per acquisition. And really, please try your best to create really interesting and punchy ads, because that's really going to be the thing that lends itself to success. Google ad campaigns, running non-brand campaigns is the most important there. Focusing on high intent searches and measuring and optimizing for success. Cool. So Hepate, questions?
We do have questions. I'm just waiting for my vid to turn on there. Okay, cool. We've got quite a few, and I'm sure some will pop through on the social media as well, because folks are watching on there. I'm going to start at the top, which is what platforms would you recommend for service-based industries that have a very localized client base?
Great question. So often people who are operating in really local groups will find that like Facebook groups of their community will work quite well, because often there's kind of buy sell community groups out there. So sometimes you can put posts up on those or message those admins to see if you can kind of market from there. Again, it depends on age ranges. Facebook's got a lot of people from lots of different ages, really. So potentially that, and then also the Google Ads side of things as well. So focusing on a specific location, so you don't necessarily need to try and target all of New Zealand. So focusing your campaign just on whatever kind of area or region you're operating within.
And this kind of ties into two questions, and there's been a response to that. So their age bracket is 18 to 45 years old.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe you want to think about the Instagram side of things. It's kind of a bit of a crossover between Instagram and Facebook, probably. That's where you're going to get the highest proportion of people using, that you're going to reach the highest proportion of people that are in your ideal audience.
Okay, perfect. And then, so then this question is, can you tell us the audience age group for both Facebook and Insta? Thank you. Do you know that offhand? I kind of feel like I'm trying to pull it from my brain as well. I know this. Facebook is all the way up, it really does go. Most people are on Facebook. The younger generation is not. I would say, well, it's probably like 40s, late 30s, 40 and up. Would you say that on Facebook?
I think even younger,
okay,
30s up, 25
okay,
up. Like less of like the 25 to 30. 30s up are still using it. I mean, I think the thing about Facebook that still works is the event functionality. You get such a high percentage of people that actually use Facebook for events. So if you are sort of in that culture or event space, definitely don't disregard Facebook.
And I would also say that they use it for Messenger sometimes too. Like a lot of people might be registered for Facebook, but they mostly are using the Messenger feature. I know that it's me as well. So just be aware of that. But okay. If you only need 1 to 2 new clients per month, B2B, would you recommend paid, or can you achieve this with organic?
I would probably take an organic LinkedIn approach, especially if you know specifically who you're actually going after. And then just writing content that's going to be really valuable to those organizations or individuals even. So writing really good case studies is great for B2B. Doing really good, I guess, like value adds to the industry is great for B2B. Providing good resources. If you're trying to continue to scale beyond that 1 to 2 a month, then I'd consider paid. But it's just so hard to create a campaign that just generates 1 lead a month, because it's so hard to optimize a campaign towards that. You can look at like driving traffic, but it's not as clear as a metric as a conversion point.
Okay, great. Thank you. So another question here. I noticed some of your images have a lot of text, but I understood that more than 20% text in your images reduced Facebook circulating the message. Has that changed?
Yeah, so they got rid of that policy officially in like 2021 or something like that. Now we have been testing it, and sometimes it does negatively impact your delivery. So it might make your CPMs a little bit more expensive. But sometimes it's just such a great way to actually get the message out there that you almost take the hit. A good approach is like a little bit of text, but mostly having the image speak for itself. So yeah, officially they've gotten rid of the rule, but our tests have shown that it still kind of exists a little bit.
Okay. Quick question. When I set up our Google My Business, Google said it would give us a free $600 worth in advertising. My question is this for real? Question number 1, or is it just a test account with play money giving us example stats?
Yeah, so I believe it is free money. But there's a catch, which is that you've also got to spend $600. Last time I checked the policy, I think that's what it was. So if you spend 600, then you get 600 for free. I believe is the policy at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Double check on that. And if you guys need it'll have to tell you, I'm sure in the fine print if you.
But it's not just a test account. You can use it to get your message out there.
Yeah. And if you need some help, just contact support at digitalboost.co.nz. There is another question here. It says, could we have more explanation on Meta Business Manager list to customize?
Do you mean audience lists? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, maybe if you could clarify that, Michelle, that would be great. I'm just going to jump over to the other platforms. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. LinkedIn, I've always got to reload. It just doesn't stay with me, LinkedIn. No, we're good on those platforms so far. Okay. Yeah, Michelle, if you're still there, maybe dropping in just a little bit more information. But okay, that bit went too fast to catch many of the items on the list. So maybe where you were in your presentation, if we can go back there.
Yeah. Cool. Is this the page we're talking
Yeah,
about?
it must be commonly used audience types.
Cool. So yeah, audiences, what I didn't actually say about audiences is that at a basic level, there's other options, right? So there's location settings in terms of people who are, I think the minimum is 3 kilometers away from like a pinpoint, or within a 3 kilometer radius, I should say. People who are in a certain city, in a certain postcode, in a certain area. There's also age demographics, gender, and interest-based stuff. But when we're creating custom audiences, there's all sorts of information that we can pipeline from our own data. So for example, our website data. So a great list that or a great option that I'll set up is people who have spent more than 60 seconds on our website. I want to target those people specifically. So that might be sort of in step 2 or step 3 consideration or conversion stage of my campaign.
Now, she was specifically talking about a couple of pages further along.
Oh,
so
yeah, sorry.
a few pages later, keep going.
These were just examples from here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Oh, the list of results.
The drop down list.
This one?
Yeah, it must be that one, maybe. It's tricky.
Cool.
Yes, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, so how you get to this page is in the top right-hand side of the table of the Meta Business Manager or Ads Manager. You go customize columns and you add in whatever columns that you want. Now, some tricks in here is what I got caught out when I started was clicks all, cost per click all, and click-through rate all. That looks like what you should go for, right? No, wrong. We want to go for click-through rate link clicks because clicks all in those 3 metrics, it includes people who click the see more button of your post. So like essentially any engagement or the like button or the comment or something like that. So any engagement with the ad will be kind of counted as clicks. So it's a little bit misleading. So you want to go for link clicks. But what I would encourage is what I did to kind of learn this is I just went through and put every single metric in because I'm a bit of a nerd like that. And then just like saw how everything was performing, saw what was the most interesting to me, and then refined it down from there. You might not need to do that. You might just want to focus in on these metrics.
I have had somebody tell me if you see a new feature, if you see a new button, push it. Like, because what happens,
you have curiosity about the platforms.
Yeah, because I think that we stop looking at things, like we just see what we need to learn, what we use all the time, but they add new features all the time. So you never know, you might find that there's value in some of those other features. I'm just double checking on the page that has the graph with metrics. Can you find that page? You had some kind of graph with metrics. Do you have that somewhere?
Event. This one?
I would say, can you just reply to that, Amy, so that then I can ask the second part of your question? Nope, further forward.
Is
It's
it
so hard.
the
It's so
Google
hard.
Ads stuff or is it the Facebook stuff? Oh, are you
Maybe
talking
one.
about this?
Okay, that's probably it.
All right.
Yep, that's it. Okay, now let me find the question. Do you book these in Ads Manager or do you just go through Meta Business Suite?
Um, so we do a bit of a combination. Sometimes we'll do like custom uploads from Excel sheets because we get a little bit fancy like that. Other times we'll use like the actual ads manager interface. Yeah, so I kind of either or.
Okay.
But I find it to be kind of a similar-ish process. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we've got one more here. One more, sorry. Is it true that Facebook is getting rid of lookalikes and interests?
I know that it's refining the interest-based targeting a bit further. Lookalikes, I'm not aware of them getting rid of it at this point. It's definitely still usable as of today. But yeah, the space changes all the time, and sometimes we don't have a lot of notice when things change.
Yeah, I actually found today, even when I was going to post the video and edit the copy on the video, where I do that is completely different in the way that I do that. And it's, it is can be quite frustrating sometimes because every time you go in, they've changed something. And you're like, wait, how do I find that thing that I need to do on here? Because they've changed it, because they're constantly testing things. So it can be a bit tricky when we're trying to teach you guys things and then they go ahead and change the format. So, but that's just the nature of these platforms. And that's why we've got to play around and be okay with getting a bit lost to get found. So yeah. Did you want to cover this? Are you moving on to this topic here?
No,
We've
no,
got
no.
all of our questions. So far we've answered all the questions that you guys have put through. And I'm just going to double check again and make sure I haven't missed anything there. I can see you guys out there on social media. If you want your questions answered, do drop them in because we're almost finished up here. And yeah, this has been an amazing session. Tim, we're looking forward to having you on again as well, which I just want to jump in and see if I can find the date. It's before Christmas for sure, before the break. Where are we? Oh, we are going to see you on the 6th of December. And we're going to be talking about how to double down on high performing marketing. So that's going to be a great little next session after this one so that you can go away and have a go at all of this and then come back to the next session on December 6th and find out how you can double down on some of that stuff. So that'll be really great. So cheers, guys. Thanks, Tim. Will slides be available to read through to absorb the information a bit better? That's up to you, Tim. Are you happy to share this presentation with us?
It's all good.
Okay, so what will happen now, folks, is if you're with us on Zoom, you'll receive a link to the recording later today. And you will also, what we will do is when we pop the session up onto the website, underneath there's something either called learning guides or supportive materials. It's right underneath the video and you can click on it. It'll be a PDF format. So we will upload that in the next few days. So you'll have that as a learning resource. It is nice if you've watched the presentation to just kind of skip to the parts that you really needed to get help with. Okay. Can you please define social enterprise for Arrow Digital's consultations?
Yeah. So essentially purpose-driven organizations, people out there doing awesome stuff in the community. Yeah, we want to help you. It took me a long time, a lot of trial and error to learn digital marketing. So I want to help people to cut to the chase and get to the stuff that's actually going to work. So yeah, you can check out our website for those impact hours, which just free sessions with businesses. But yeah, if you ask that question,
website actually, I'm just going to drop it in the chat really quick. Hold on one sec. Let me just get it. It's super easy, but we'll just drop it in here so you guys have a link. So that's the website there. And we've actually had the pleasure of having Tim on before. It was, Digital Boost has now been around for quite a while, hasn't it, Tim? And so most of you guys might not know Tim, but actually Tim has supported Digital Boost for a very long time and we appreciate him. Check out his website, get in contact. So I missed the first 5 minutes. What was about, oh, that social enterprises, that was just about something that's on the website, something you can probably get involved with, or a way to get right for consultations. You can check that out by using the link, Rachel. If you missed the first 5 minutes or you missed any of the time, you can always watch it on our social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, or you can also watch the recording from the website. So Tim, I want to thank you. I'm looking forward to the 6th of December, and that's gonna, we're heading towards the end of the year, aren't we? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah. So yeah, that'd be good time to discuss that as well, because things get a little bit more competitive in the social media space. Everyone is advertising in the month of December, so you really got to cut through the noise somehow.
Okay, actually, that's a really good point. And we need to set ourselves up for, success for the following year as well, so that we're on our game. We're coming out swinging in the new year, 2023. The light has shined down on us at the tail end of this year without lockdowns and stuff. So we're in a good place, aren't we, Tim?
I'm very excited. Oh my gosh, it's starting to feel like summer here in Wellington. So looking forward to it.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry, there's just one more thing here. It says the age of social media is ending. Facebook is in decline, Twitter in chaos. How do you think the world of marketing and campaign will change? And how can we be innovative with campaigning outside of social media?
Great question.
That's a very philosophical question. Would you like to take that?
Love the doom and gloom. Yeah, every new social media platform that launches, essentially it grows so much faster than the one prior. So yeah, I think there'll just continue to be more and more new social medias, and they'll continue to grow really quickly. But you can think about other kind of platforms as well, like apps aren't going anywhere. And ultimately, I think if you take either a really entertaining, a really helpful, a really valuable, a really empathetic approach to your marketing and your communication, you'll probably do well regardless of what platform exists at the time. And yeah, while Facebook's declining, it's still got 2 billion daily active users. So that's still quite a lot of people. So it's got a long way to go before it's completely useless.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there was in the news lately that Facebook had laid off about 11,000 workers or something like that, but really they generated $1.4 billion in revenue from Reels. So just because it looks like there's certain things happening, or people are withdrawing from, the metaverse, and like that isn't kicking off in the same, there's still heaps of things that are happening in the space. And, a lot of us don't want to learn new platforms, to be perfectly honest. So you've still got your market like sitting there. And yeah, so I don't think it's that big a thing as well. I think that, it's still good to put yourself out there. And a lot of things are transferable skills. So no matter what you're learning here on this platform or that, a lot of I think it comes down to plasticity of the mind and being able to adapt and grow. The more that we challenge ourselves to step out of our comfort zone and try new things and work on our business in new and innovative ways, it changes the way that we relate to our business, and then we relate to our customer, and it makes us more adaptable to anything else that comes along. So it's always going to be a plus. All right. Well, I'd say let's wrap that up. Let's put a bow on this, Tim, because it's been beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
All right. Ka kite, everyone. I'll see you on Thursday. Get your cameras out, because we are going to be making script writing and doing all this stuff to create Instagram and TikTok reels for your business with John Mayberry. So join us for that in-house workshop. So it's a closed session. It's not on social media. You have to register. You've got to get in there to be able to be a part of it. So we're going to put this stuff into action. So this will be really cool. All right, Tim.
Great to catch up. Shane.